Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Glovo Tech Talks. We are talking today to explain like how mobile web platform teams empower other product engineers, and you will know a bit more of what we do on a daily basis when we started. I will need the passing by. Thank you. No. Will you pass? Did we test? One moment. Yes. So welcome everyone. Let's share a bit what's the program today. I will start with the intro. I'm Marcel Albo, Senior Engineering Manager at Platform. I'm also Engineering Manager in the mobile platform team. And then we have two great speakers, Roldan talking about mobile, Paolo talking about web, and Ladi, the manager for web platform, doing the closing. And at the end, some networking, drinks, pizzas, of course, for our staff to enjoy here a bit later. We are doing these Tech Talks meetups every last Tuesday of every month regularly. By the way, this year in 2023, we did more than that, especially for tomorrow. We have Women in Tech. Also, you can still be part of that. Go to the meetup website and you can register and bring your +1. I don't know if there is still empty spots, but feel free to look at this QR and apply to it. We are doing this regularly, our tech meetups, but we are also hosting, in case any of you is interested to host or looking for a place to host, contact us and we'll take into consideration if we can make this meetup here as hosting. Good. Talking about the Glovo's vision, our vision is to give everyone easy access to anything in their city. To everyone means every person that lives in a city, easy access as fast as possible. And by anything, what means anything? Maybe some of you think that we are delivering burgers from McDonald's, Burger King, only food, but we are doing more things than that. One of the verticals, for example, that it's growing, it's also groceries. So you can do the weekly groceries by Glovo or even buy the new PlayStation in Fnac, and one Glovo courier will bring it to you. Moving forward, how are we located? So we are working on more than in 25 countries with 1,500 plus cities, over 165K monthly active partners. This means different clients owning restaurants, serving foods and other products. How big is Glovo Engineering? We have 15 clusters. By clusters, we mean also like tribes in the Spotify nomenclature. We have over 60 teams working in engineering and 450 plus engineers. With this slide, I want to talk about three things. First thing is how platform, or since when we have platform at Glovo. We probably more than 4 or 5 years ago, platform was created, but more based or focused on infrastructure, more DevOps, SRE system developers. And since I joined the company 2.5 years ago, more or less, they were creating the mobile platform team and the web platform team. Why? We had engineers located in the product teams working on features, developing features, but someone need to take care about how we implement our CI, how we improve our CI, how we do better CD, continuous delivery management, how we automate things, and how we work for developer experience. That is our main ambition on these both teams. Since then, we created mobile platform, web platform teams, and I wanted to highlight also here who are our customers or who are our clients. For the product teams who work on developing features, the customers are the clients that are all of you that use our app regularly. But for us, the clients or customers are other developers in the company. So our aim is to improve developer experience for them. How we do that? I will explain how we define the prioritization of how we create the topics or the initiatives that will work every semester. Starting for one of the most important, feedback, surveys, and communications. So we are in constant communications with syncs meetings, committees meetings with other engineers, web, iOS, Android, understanding what are their pain points. We are doing regularly surveys every semester to understand what is the most thing that they are feeling painful, that they cannot improve, that they cannot go faster working, and for us to help. This gives us a list of things that we can tackle. As you can imagine, maybe one team has a pain point thing that is not overall across the whole teams. The second thing that we go is doing a RISE score. RISE is a framework where we tackle reach, impact, confidence, and effort. So we try to understand how much developers we are reaching with this initiative, what's the impact that we are bringing, and if we can measure it, how confident we are that we can achieve that initiative, and how much ambiguity it's in there. And last but not least, the effort that this will bring. If it's a long-hanging fruit that we can do in 1 month, or a big project that maybe lasts a semester or a whole year. Everything combined with that and understanding what are the business OKRs and engineering OKRs that are defined at company level, we try to define what are the priorities for us and how we tackle every semester to improve this developer experience. With that, I will introduce 2 great speakers that we have today. First one, Roldan, Galan, our staff software engineer, talking about the mobile platform team. And second, Paolo Chiabrera, our staff software engineer, talking about web platform. So Roldan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Marcel. So let's talk about how we make mobile engineers more productive here at Glovo, or at least how we try. First, since we have people from web and mobile, just this placeholder here, we might look like very different, like these small, tiny screens, these big screens, these strong type languages, weak type languages. But there is something that unites us. There is something that we have in common. And is that it's always back and forth. And this is what I'm going to prove today. Let's start for our mission. We enable technology to evolve and scale as the company grows with good developer experience. All of this is not just buzzwords, so let's go in detail about all of these keywords. I hope I don't need to explain what a smartphone is, but how mobile looks like in Glovo. We have 2 main apps. One is the customer, so as Marcel was mentioning, the one that you are supposed to be using, have that in web, Android, and iOS. And the curious one, the one with all the details about making your order, is for Android and iOS. I'm going to focus just in the mobile ones, but these are our main mobile apps here in Glovo. Each of these is in a monorepo. We have everything related to them in a monorepo. We are sharing some code. We have some internal repositories here and there, and some internal libraries. We also give some support for mobile platform there, but our main stakeholders, our main care goes to these 2 applications. And we have 70 different mobile engineers contributing to these 4 apps. They are distributed in 20 teams and in 6 different clusters. These were stats on these 4 monorepos that I just got, like over 800 pull requests merged in the last month in these 4 apps. So there is a lot of ongoing work and a lot of different priorities and different roadmaps there. Then what is company growth? Basically, getting more users, going into new countries, increasing the market, increasing the revenue, getting more orders, and making all of these new engineers working together. And what is scale? You might argue that maybe growth and scale might look the same, but scale is actually making sustainable growth and making the growth in an efficient way. And that's first in one side is making the engineers faster. We keep saying we have a lot of features to deliver. We are in a really fast-paced environment, really competitive. So we have many different features that need to get really fast into production, into the market, which is what the product engineers are doing. And we need to make sure that this is done without sacrificing the quality of the apps. So having fewer incidents, detecting things earlier, or mitigating what is their impact. And last but not least, we want to do all of this with a good developer experience. There are many definitions of developer experience, probably, but one of my favorites is from Nicole Forsgren. I don't know, do you know Nicole Forsgren? Anyone here? Probably not, but probably you heard about Dora metrics. You heard about the space productivity framework. The DevOps handbook, the Accelerate book. All of this has been written by Nicole Forsgren. She's the main the main researcher in all of these papers and books. And in this one, they analyze a lot of between Microsoft and GitHub, and probably, I don't know, LinkedIn maybe. In this paper, they analyze a lot of different metrics, a lot of different things in our day-to-day to identify what are the ones that impact heavily in developer experience. And they reduce them and classify them into 3 dimensions that are the ones that are having the biggest impact. And one of them is cognitive load. This is just some neurological reasons behind that. We think we are too clever. We are not. Our brains have limited capacity. You can do many things at once. You cannot go as deep as you want in some things. And software engineering is already complex. So the easier we make, the better for reduce our cognitive load and be more efficient in what we are doing. There's also flow state. I think all of us know about being in the zone, being focused into coding is the moment that we feel more efficient. The moment that we never achieve in between 2 meetings that are 20 minutes from each other. And also any blockers that we have in our day-to-day are affecting this flow state. And feedback loop, which is the output, the output that we get, the result that we get after some change. And this goes in every dimension. This goes from the day-to-day in the code. When you're building, you hit run. The moment it appears, your app is load. You run a test the moment you get the result. You open a pull request the moment you get the CA checks, you get the first review. The moment that you deliver, you get the first metrics about what your change is impacting your customers or errors or whatever. All of these are feedback loops, and they should be as much reduced as possible. Now, how we are doing all of this? First, one of the biggest things that we need to do is identify what are the biggest problems for the mobile engineers in Glovo. For that, we use many different inputs. We like to say that we take data-driven decisions, so the most important one is measuring the developer experience. We are using different metrics. Some of them are provided by some tools. Some of them are created and maintained by us. We also watch all your channels. If you're a Glovo engineer, we try to stay in some of your meetings, some of the channels. Whenever you are complaining your day-to-day, even if you don't ping mobile platform, we try to be aware about what is blocking engineers, so we can work on that eventually. And also surveys and many things. These are the different things where we put our eyes to identify what are the biggest problems. And as Marcel was mentioning, we get this. We mix this with the company OKRs, and then every person in the team, every individual in the team, in the mobile platform team, present different initiatives, and we evaluate them and decide what to do for our next roadmap. We usually work in things that are relatively big, so 1 quarter, 1 semester. So usually we create a roadmap every more or less 6 months. This is the amazing team that is in mobile platform. You will see some of the faces around here, so don't hesitate talking with them later. We don't have former team members, even if there are some in the audience. And as you see, we have some, we are all maintaining everything for mobile engineers, but of course we have our backgrounds and we know more about Android, we know more about iOS. So whenever there is some implementation in the apps related to that, we usually take that, but most of the things, anyone can do it, especially when we are trying to make everything more consistent. And as you notice, we only have ICs and an engineer manager. We don't have any PM. So we need to wear this hat many times. We need to be the ones gathering the requirements, aligning with the stakeholders, preparing the initiatives, all the things that usually in product phase teams are done by a product manager. This person that maybe you sometimes hate them, but they are doing all of these things that you don't need to do if they are there. But regardless of anything, even if we don't have, especially in Glovo, every cluster has direct relationship with business department out of tech. In platform, no, we usually don't talk much with the other business department, but regardless of that, we always keep an eye in the company goals. And our decisions are not because we like some technology or because some technology is fancier, but because they are aligned with the company goals to help Glovo keep scaling and growing as they want. In that sense, we don't have only the VMware hat. We need to wear many different hats every day. We have different roles in our day-to-day to run our team. And of course, we are also developers. But also we sometimes need to create new metrics for our teams or for other teams. I like to say that we are plumbers because we maintain the CI/CD, so we unblock pipelines. We also say diplomats. We are in a center position between the clusters and between the apps. So customer, courier, Android, and iOS. We are like in a central position, so we try to make sure that we share things between what we share knowledge and make everything more consistent. Sometimes we are architects. I don't like. I mean, no one likes architects anymore in our industry. These guys that are in their Marvel tower. I say guys intentionally. Just taking decisions and filling them. But sometimes, if you want to make sure that the app scales with a lot of different engineers, we need to take some architectural decisions, like modularization. We'll go into the example later. And last and least, is get better. We don't want to have a police road. But sometimes we need to do some pushback, especially if we feel that some decision has been taken without taking all the risks in consideration. We try to do some pushback and to make sure that everything is measured. It's an example I'll go later, like yes, this small dependency that you're adding today might cause an incident in the future if no one is paying attention into that. And in summary, I think the role that Better represents that is a support role. We are here to help. We are happy to help anyone and give feedback or solving your problems in whatever way. These are different initiatives that we've been doing during the last couple of years, probably. These are the biggest one. I will go into different examples on these ones. And to execute them, this is what our day-to-day looks like. So all of these initiatives and all the work that we do usually is a combination of these four activities. One is creating guidelines and standards. This is highly connected with the cognitive load that we were mentioning before. If something, there is already an agreed way on how to do it, you don't need to think in the moment that you are developing. You just follow the standard, follow the guideline. You don't need to discuss with other engineers about how to do something. We also sometimes provide tooling or implement solutions to get some of the help that we are doing. For example, if we need to make the build faster, we might need to introduce something to reuse the execution, like remote cache. So we might buy a provider that is already doing this and we maintain it in the company. Or if we want to get metrics for the local builds, because we don't have any tool doing that, we are going to do that ourselves. The third one is connected with that one, is creating metric and dashboard. First, because we say that we are a data-driven team, so we want to measure how engineers work, so we know where are the bottlenecks and how to improve them. But also because sometimes there are company OKRs or goals that need to be achieved, and there is no clear way to how to measure them and how to track them. And if you are not able to track something properly, there is not going to be progress ever. I mean, we've seen this many times. So sometimes our contribution to some company OKRs is by this. And training the engineers on all of these things that we provide and ensure that we share knowledge between each other. Let's jump into some examples of these initiatives that I just mentioned. One, of course, CI/CD. I think this is the biggest part of our day-to-day is the CI/CD. We provide a reliable CI/CD for all the mobile engineers. In mobile, we want to have first, the release process is slightly complex. It's not just this is released, done. It's not just blue-green, done. No. We create a release branch, a beta application 1 week before the actual release. We do a release with the state rollout. We need to increment them. All of this happens automatically. No intervention of the engineers. Only on Monday saying, yes, do the release. Everything is fine. So we invest a lot of time in creating this. Actually, during the last months, we've been migrating from Jenkins, which was our solution for like the last 3-4 months, to GitHub Actions. I hope some of the people in our team are going to do some talk in some months about this. I think we have just one missing repository as of today to migrate. But this is just implementation details. We don't care, we care about the tool, but the tool is fitting a purpose, and we want to ensure that it's reliable and fast, because first, it will be reliable to doing the releases, and it will be fast because PR is something that is constantly blocking engineers who want to contribute by somehow. And we try to make engineers autonomous. Actually, one of the reasons was Jenkins to GitHub Action. We are seeing that engineers are engaging way more with the output of the builds, because Jenkins was, I mean, it was first it was in a separate place. Second, no one likes Jenkins. And in GitHub Actions, everything is way more clear, and engineers are being more autonomous than they were before with GitHub Actions, with Jenkins. This is one of the monitors that we have for controlling the CI/CD. This is just an example of the 2 key metrics that we control here. We have monitors, and we review this week over week. One is the stability of develop. If develop is broken, there is no engineer that can work because whatever they check out, they are going to be blocked as well. So we want to ensure this is stable. PR, again, PR, anything that you want to do, introduce something into your main branch, you need to go through the PR process. If it's slow, you are going to be blocked, and also you are be hesitant to publishing more and applying change from your teammates. So we try to make that faster. We usually took into the average and P95. Next, another project that we've been working is helping product engineers to have better observability in the production app once it goes live. We have some challenges. That's why we decided to jump into this initiative. First of one was cost. The solution that we used to have was we need to pay a lot, and we need to spend a lot of time making it more efficient. And usually the root was corners and observing some things. There was also not much consistencies between the apps, and there was also no clear expectation from teams or engineers about the metrics that we were delivering. So some of the things that we did, first, we evaluate a different tooling. We migrate to it. We run a POC. We lead the migration. We create the observability standards, which is an opinionated way about how to observe some metrics and what the team should be observing. We give templates on dashboards, and especially we ensure that platforms and apps were having the same observability. This is quite connected, by the way, with the first thing that I mentioned. Everything is back and forth. So if your two applications are the same, are producing the same observability, you're going to be able to identify patterns. And if something is failing in both apps, most likely it's backend. If it's failing in only one, you better fix that one. This is just one of examples of the templates that we were providing to the teams. Like, this is our opinionated way about how network errors should be observed, and JSON errors is parsing errors. So basically, there is a mismatch between what client is expecting and what backend is sending. So we give this as a template, and teams just need to copy, paste this in their team dashboards, and change the URLs or what they're following the guides. Another one was modernization. Our architect had build time of the project increased. We have more engineers, more features, basal cost, team build time keeps increasing. We all knew somehow modernization was the way. We had some models here and there, but there were no agreements about how to do that. There was also no clear ownership about the modules. There was also, since there was no agreements about when to do a module and why it was important, it was never prioritized either. So we created the modernization standards, explaining why it's important. We were defining a flat architecture, so we make sure that all the different modules can build in parallel. So you leverage all the cores in your machine and you don't need to have bottlenecks. We also decide that modules must be owned by a team, even if others collaborate, but there might be a clear owner. And we provide tooling into the repos to enforce these rules. And of course, create monitors to track the progress, share examples and different workshops. This is one of the examples of the RSC about the modernization standards, where you can see all the different type of modules that we support, how they are connected. You see that implementation cannot depend on each other. They should depend through an API. So this ensures a flat graph of at least depth of 3, which makes the builds quite faster. This is the metric that we create to help, because something that I didn't mention, we don't own the main applications. Product engineers are the ones that are owning the applications. We don't have much code in the product applications, just some basic frameworks or basic things. Most of them, I would say 95% of the code that is in the main applications belong to product teams. So if we want to modularize, is these product teams the one that need to extract the code and do all the job? And in order to make sure that it was properly tracked and prioritized, and it was a way to follow this at leadership level, we create all of these, for example, this dashboard. And the main important one is the modularized as per standards. So this is the track. So you see we have some in July and October, big jumps. Also, top left code within the monolith. We want to extract things in the monolith because it's usually the bottleneck. So you see the difference between how much is in the monolith and how much is outside, and many others to identify where the progress is going. Dependency leaks. This is the gatekeeper hat. So we had a lot of incidents related to dependencies. I mean, raise your hand if you have any dependency-related incident, something not your code, just the dependencies. But nevertheless, the dependencies are being added. I mean, there is no, usually in no other company I've been, there was much control on the dependencies. You can just go and add your dependency catalog or whatever and add a new dependency, just anyone approve it, just go. And mobile apps are shipped in a monolith. No matter how many modules we have and how many ownership we have per module, at the end, the user receives a single artifact. And if a dependency is breaking it, it's going to break it for everyone. So we decided to introduce a checklist. Any new dependency at the project the developer need to fill this checklist, and it will be reviewed by everyone in the application that is impacted by this new dependency. The main motivation for this is having a clear understanding of the risk and clear owners, because if a dependency fails, I mean, you have it today, everything is fine. If it fails in 6 months and is blocking a release, if it's blocking a hotfix, what we do with the dependency? Who takes the decision of removing it or not? So these are some random questions from there, and don't need to read all of them, but some of the questions are relative about what is the quality of the code, what are the motivation, why are we adding it, what is the business value need, and others the business impact. Is this going to increase the startup time? Is it going to increase the size of the application? The network usage, we care about network usage, battery, because we are present in many countries where networking it might be an issue. And just example of probably the most important one is your application gathering user data, because if you are doing that, you need to communicate in the stores. Otherwise, your app might be banned if Google or Apple detect that you are grabbing some data that is not being declared in your user policy. These are the kind of questions that we ask in this dependency list. I think for a year we have this, and I think we are quite happy with the process. At some point, we will need to evaluate the hundreds of dependencies that were added before the checklist was created, but that will be a different story. And the performance metrics. So in this case, we didn't create any standards. We didn't create any guidelines. They were already there. There were things that we were kind of looking ourselves, and also in D8, since we are part of Delivery Hero, there were some of gold standard performance metrics that we wanted to adopt for ourselves. And we were measuring all of this, but quite in many different providers, many different webs. Not everyone had access to it, and the people that needed to collect it every week, it was a pain in the ass for them. And of course, misalignment between apps and platform, which is also our day-to-day. So we decided to go to all the different sources. Sometimes we need to decide, there were some metrics that were duplicated in different sources, so we decide which one will be the final one. We export them into from all of the system into our current observability tool, which is Datadog. So everyone in the company can have access to this dashboard of performance metrics and can see them in a single place. And we have also a historical, and of course, resolving inconsistencies as we can. And so now we are the ones that are kind of maintaining this dashboard. You can see slow rendering, time to interactive, app startup, crashes, and all the different things that were defined by these standards that we start to measure and provide this to the teams. With this, I think that was all for mobile. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions. Can you bring the mic?
Hi. First of all, thanks for sharing all this information. It's very valuable, and I think that you are doing a good job. I have at least two questions. First one, why GitHub Actions?
I'm going to pass the mic to David, that is just in front of you, and I think you can answer this.
Okay, so
David is leading the whole migration to GitHub Actions, so I think he's in the best position.
So hi, well, we already know each other. So out of curiosity, it's just why not Bitrise is also the question, or just why?
Because the question is about because they have a lot of different solutions, and I think that more and more different teams and from mobile is choosing GitHub Actions. But
yeah,
I always try to understand why, because if they are other approach that is more focusing mobile, why teams are choosing GitHub Action? Because I think that is a little bit put hands in more complicated stuff than not, for example, Bitrise or other solutions.
Yeah, so there are multiple reasons why we chose to go with GitHub Actions. I will just be naming a few of them. One of them is it's aligned with what the rest of the company is doing. So we can benefit from a lot of the knowledge that we have. We have infrastructure teams, a lot of people that is specialized on running these kind of things. Actually, the people from web that we've been following their steps, they already did they already walked that path before us. So we get all their learnings and also a lot of tooling that supports us around us. So that was a very important reason. Then another reason that for me it was very interesting, it's the fact that we get freedom to choose in which infrastructure we run, and we are not tied to the pricing, whatever pricing Bitrise wants to apply to us or charge us for the runners or per minute or whatever. So of course, GitHub Actions offers their own runners, kind of like Bitrise style, but you can also decide to go for self-hosted runners. You can have your infra in Mac Stadium, in AWS, you name it, and you can go for the cheaper option or whatever fits your needs. And when you start looking to that, you start getting a lot of possibilities of optimizing. Then I would say another important reason, it's also you are not locked in a vendor that is going to try to charge you for every single thing. So of course you are locked with GitHub, and if you want to migrate, you need to go somewhere else and take your stuff. But if you want to get analytics, you can get analytics on your own. So Bitrise gives you the insights, but then they charge you for that, and they keep charging and charging and charging. So with GitHub, we have all the metrics that we want. Very easily, we can know which are the flows that are taking the longest or the fastest. We can get P95, well, all the percentiles and all the data that we want. So these were some of the main reasons why GitHub and not Bitrise, GitHub Actions.
Thank you. The other one is, when you talk about flat architecture, what do you mean with that? Because this means that each module is designed or is using different approaches in the architecture solutions, and you apply something common for the different modules, or this means that you are following same patterns, but you can choose different approaches. I don't know if I have explained very well.
I think I got it, but if not, just correct me and follow up.
Yeah.
So inside every module, we don't have any opinion about what you should have inside the module.
Okay.
The only opinions is about at module level how they should be sharing things. So the implementation modules cannot share anything between them. If you need to call from one module to the other, you need to have this what we call API modules, which I mean it's exactly like an interface and implementation. So this one is the one that knows and is connected through the dependency injection. We are connecting to the actual implementation. And then if you rely just in these API modules, which also don't rely between each other. So the thing here is like all the API modules are going to be built in parallel. And once they are done, all the implementation modules will run in parallel. So this is just the whole reason. Not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah. The idea, more or less, if I understand well, is that you are, do you want to follow a common API approach, and inside each module, you can use whatever you want to.
Exactly. But we don't tell you what to put in the API or in the implementation. We just tell you that these two modules should then be connected together. And if you need anything from one module, do it through a separate API module with anything that you will share between these two.
And the API have some type of restrictions in the sense of try to be compatible with the dependency injection or something?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, we don't have any type of restrictions, no. Of course. You're in the shadows, Guille. Come to the stage. You're also from the team, so come. If you want to talk, come to the.
Just a more thing regarding the API. The idea of this approach actually was proposed by Joseph, and it fixed a lot of performance issues we had in the build. The idea of the approach is API modules should be the only connection between implementation modules, and it should be building super fast. So basically, in this, let's say you're an Android developer or iOS developer, you have protocols or interfaces only in here, and only the main classes that's meant to be exposed to other modules. So once you build that, so we don't have a notation process in here, we don't have anything like that, just the interfaces to talk with other modules. This will allow us to build these models super fast And then in Gradle, this will allow you to build the other modules, the implementation ones, in parallel, because they don't have dependency between each other. Otherwise, if you have like a centralized base thing, does need to be built first, so you before you can build the rest. And that was the bottleneck. So with this, we solved basically the bottleneck problem that we had in the build. That's all.
I think we have in the latest DroidCon, we have one of our teammates, Joseph Raska, have a talk about more in detail about the modularization. So maybe you can check that as well. I think it's public on internet.
Okay, we have 2 more questions online. I will read it. First one, how do you ensure that your solutions are adopted by devs? They don't bypass the solution.
That's a very good problem that we face every day. Sometimes, as I think this is a good example, we add rules into the repositories to enforce them. So especially in this case of modularization, if any engineer now tries to add module implementation, depending in another implementation module, it's going to fail at compile time. So this is going to prevent it. Other times, there is no rules to add, so we just trust in the engineers, we do workshop, we explain things. These are also not things that we impose. We usually try to get a lot of alignment with the teams. We try to meet with the product engineers that are going to use this and try to reach agreements and do it and have a lot of discussions before we adopt something. So in the moment that the standard is published, there has been a lot of long discussion with all engineers, and there is a general agreement to move into that direction.
Second one, is your release pipeline fully automated?
Yes. Yes, but I mean, it's fully automated. All the stages are automated. Engineers doesn't touch anything except on Mondays to say yes, release. Is the only thing that we don't have automated. I mean, of course, if there are conflicts, we cannot automate conflict resolution. I mean, not even Git is solving that. If there's a conflict resolution, so we are not better than Git. But all the stages are automated. We have this. I mean, we could have this automated, but we want to have this extra safety step. So on Monday, whoever is the release commander of the application is going to double check all the observability that we have in place, and is going to make sure that what we are about to deliver is safe for our customers, and then just hit the release button. And then all the rest is going to be done automatically. Also, I mean, I've been this afternoon doing a few hotfixes, and if you want to run a hotfix, everything is automated. The branch creation is automated. In Android, the halting of the current ongoing release is automated. All of these things are automated. Bumping the versions, delivering to our beta testers, increasing rollout during the week, all of this is automated. No human intervention.
Tomorrow, most useful linter rules.
The ones that you don't need to write. I don't have a favorite lint rule. Probably if you're having a specific problem and you can create your own lint rule to overcome it. But I mean, the default ones, sometimes there are noise, I have to say.
Last one, including App Store rollout, access to all engineers. Including App Store rollout. I guess it's linked.
It's a follow-up of the automation?
I think so.
Yes. So the only thing that engineers does is, yes, this is okay, and we release to 20% of our customers or our couriers. Next day, automatically, a cron job is going to execute, it's going to increase the release from 20 to 50, and next day to 50 to 100. No human interaction, unless there are some, of course, I lie, there are 2 human interactions. If there is any problem, you need to go there and stop it and halt it, right? I would love to connect our observability tools and our error detection tools into our automation tools, so it halts automatically, but that is going to be a topic for the next year meetup, probably.
Including the beta versions that we use all the employees internally every weekend before releasing on Monday. Yeah.
Anyone else in the room, or we can pass to the next?
So one question about the modularization thing is that basically you have like these two levels, right? So implementation and API. So I guess if let's say two features, whatever, they have dependency between each other, they always go through the app thing, right? So the app model, like to link,
yes, through dependency injection, we
Yeah.
link them at the app level.
okay,
yes.
so it's all
but
controlled
not at
always by
compile
app.
time.
So they don't have like shared sub-modules that they can depend on, etc. Because
We actually have these shared types in the event that there are, I don't know, some types, some data types that are
Yeah.
shared between both, so you don't need to duplicate them. So we
Yeah.
accept this.
but it's
And-
controlled and
What?
it's like controlled like it's
Yes,
defined.
and actually follow the same rules. So two shared types cannot rely into each other, and only API can rely on shared types. You cannot have it at implementation. Just will get it from there.
And it's always like the full app, or do you have like mini versions of the app in which you can just select which implementation?
No,
or
no,
API
we are not doing that. No.
Okay.
So we have the full module that it's loading all of them. We could eventually do that, but we don't have it now.
Thank you.
So in some of the modules, we actually had their own applications that it enabled you to just play around with the features associated to that module. But we discovered that the developers of that same team that own the module, many times they don't use the app and they don't maintain it. So eventually you want to try it and it fails building. So because of that, we've been dropping this for most of the modules because the effort of maintaining it, it was not worth the, so the usage it was getting was not worth the effort of maintaining them.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Yeah, I see a testing module there. I'm not a front-end developer, but I know that's a struggle to have like acceptance tests, like a whole test suite to run before you publish in the Play Store. How are you doing that? You rely only on the performance, like observability, or I would say we because I work here, sorry, but or we are just on the bad testing.
So you're asking about end-to-end tests or?
End-to-end tests, yes.
So that's a funny story. We have some of them. Actually, all are currently in the app. I think in all the applications they're in the app module. And the real story is that we've been creating UI tests in the past, but actually, guess what? We don't have consistency. We don't have ownership. We don't have a reliable UI test. So this is going to be our next semester work. Is going to try to fix all of this, because I mean there are some apps that are having relatively good numbers, or there are consistently failing, because if something keeps failing constantly, automated test keeps failing, no one trusts it, so there is no reason to spend time into fixing that. So we are aiming to make this better, and probably being able to run subsets of end-to-end tests and all of these things. But it's something that we are still deciding, but we know we are going to work on this for sure during the next 6 months.
Question online. Any plans to move to Flutter?
No. No, we in Glovo, we believe heavily in the native apps. We believe they are way more performant for the user. We care a lot about I mean, we have all of these performance metrics for a reason. And the general belief in Glovo is that we think native apps are easier for this than Flutter or any other thing. Thank you.
Just to mention, you may say, love your patriotism.
Say that.
Okay. Hello. Some of you know me, some don't. So I'm Paolo, web platform, and I will guide you through it. I would say most of what Roldan already said in terms of practices, day-to-day work, these kind of things, 99 point something, it's the same. So I'm not gonna bore you with these kind of things. I will jump right into it. This is a team. As you can see, I'm here. Later on, Ladi will speak to you, bottom right. And we are like a spicy team, and we are proud of that. So just to overwhelm you with some images, when you think about web, probably who knows says it's just JavaScript and probably CSS. Where is the problem? And why do you need a platform team at all? Exactly. You can see it's just JavaScript. So mostly what you think it's here, or the rest, it's what hopefully most of the people, especially most of our engineers, don't see directly if we do a good job. Otherwise means we're not doing our best. And we will see some of these images moving on per section. So if you have a good visual memory, this should help you. First thing, how do we do code architecture? So decision-making in terms of like splitting things, organizing our code, and allowing different projects and different people to follow the same standards. Basically, first part, centralization. We have different projects, different web apps. We have decided some time ago, almost 2 years, I would say, to use a monorepo approach. Not exactly, if you're familiar, the Google monorepo approach, but not too far from there. We rely on PNPM, for who knows, not NPM, again, for a reason that we think gives us much, much better power and much like more capabilities to do so. And so using what PNPM calls workspaces, we are able to divide things and organize the code in a better way. We split the monorepos by domain. So internally, Glovo as a company has different products, and we try to consolidate each product in kind of like a vertical and use a monorepo for that vertical, or sometimes for technical domains. And I will explain also like later in which way. Separation of concerns. As a platform team, usually we tend to provide either SDK, so for like as a code at runtime most of the time, or GitHub Actions. As Roldan already mentioned, we run everything in GitHub. So in this way, we enable other teams to not reinvent the wheel. And we try again to consolidate and separate the concerns in between things. At the same time, we use this approach because the community, it's already used to consume things from GitHub or NPM as packages. So documentation, example, and all these kind of things, all developers should be already familiar, even if they're joining Glovo anytime, any day. Now, moving from there, how do we do CI? This is like a rough, quick walkthrough. As I said, Docker, PNPM, GitHub, AWS, and Kubernetes. Basically, we try to provide, and I hope we do, provide a stable GitHub CI that runs behind the scene on Kubernetes and AWS. Mainly because, as you might know, the GitHub CI is available for free on open source projects. Actually, when you run it as a company, it's paid and can be quite expensive when you run it at scale. So for companies of the size of Glovo, it's actually not so convenient, either in performances or cost. Our decision was to keep the same structure, but actually, thanks to GitHub and allowing to run it on a self-hosted infrastructure to provide ours. The main idea also is that the platform team technically maintains all the Docker-based images for what they're called runners. So the runner, it's in other CIs, you can call it agent or so on. It's basically was taking your code and the things you want to do and runs them, as the name might suggest. And our job is like to compose and develop like the most efficient images from this point of view. At the same time, as I was mentioning before, we do develop and maintain a full set of GitHub Actions to be reused. They can be reused internally by the platform teams, sometimes even shared between the mobile area and the web area because we have cross-cutting concerns, or directly by the product, what we call product teams, in order to enable them and so on. You can see here, if you have wonderful eagle eyes, an idea of like how do we work and how complex can get. This one, it's our dummy app. So this is a simple CI of something that is like really simple. Now, game for you, and I can give you a hint, it's between colors to spot the difference between what's at the top and what's at the bottom. If you see it, focus on this area. And basically, the idea is we try to make our CI smarter. What does it mean? It means that basically we could just be lazy and just run everything all the time, regardless of the changes and what we want to achieve. This one wouldn't be very efficient in terms of back-to-back CI time, and at the same time will be quite expensive because even for small changes, we will be probably running tasks that we are not needed to. Instead, as you could notice here, for example, on this column, we are not running test and lint for this kind of job, just because probably there was nothing to test and lint in this kind of changes. And part of the platform team has focused exactly to keep polishing and try to make it smarter and smarter with internal tooling to understand code changes, documentation changes, and so on, which kind of things should be run to guarantee quality and so on. CD, again, GitHub, because we try to stick to it. Spinnaker and Argo CD, they're kind of like in competition from this point of view, and we're trying to move from Spinnaker and Argo CD. We have two types of CD. To give you like some ideas, client-side rendered app, and you will see later server-side rendered app. So for the client-side rendered app, or CSR in general, we try to make all the information about any release available as close as the code as possible. GitHub provides amazing tool, especially visual feedback from a point of view of like UI. To provide information, as you can see on the right about the deployments, or on the left, every single release. And all of this is automated for us. So any developer just need to create like a contribute as usual, commit, merge the PR, and all the information will come up. This becomes very useful, especially in case of rollbacks, troubleshooting, understanding things, because it should pinpoint very quickly who did what and when, so we can immediately try to fix forward or roll back, but understanding what we're doing. CSR, where things becomes interesting, and we try to attempt to be backend developers. Basically, running Node.js, we have also like server-side render app, which are at the end like a server 100%. The idea is, in this case, on top of GitHub, the actual release, it's done from Spinnaker. So, and Spinnaker, as you can recognize by the beautiful icons, it's doing it using Kubernetes. So we run our Node.js instances, in this case, 26, totally healthy, which is good, on Kubernetes, and Spinnaker takes care of taking the Docker images, deploy them live, do the full rollout, start to do it by pods, and so on. So if something goes wrong, we're able to do it and quickly also roll out, giving no downtime to the user, which is, of course, essential. Now, the part behind it, the infrastructure, Terraform, AWS, and Datadog all together helps us to do a couple of things. When I was talking before about the CI, I'm making it easy, saying we just have self-hosted runners. It's actually not that easy. This one, for who's familiar, is Argo CD kind of interface. So what you are seeing are actually part, not also all of them, of our instances. So each runner, we have like different ones, different families, different type, different sizes, because we don't want, again, to waste resources and waste money for nothing. So if you're running a tiny task, which it's not so CPU or memory intensive, you can just use an extra small instance. And as a developer, when you are developing your workflow, probably you know it, and you can just like select a proper size instance. Or in some other cases, you want to run acceptance testing or run a bit more like heavy task on a runner. So you can choose different families and so on. We try to mimic the same approach that GitHub itself is using. So if any one of you is like playing around on GitHub with like the runners, you will see they have different sizes. The main difference is that the GitHub one are what's called multi-purpose. So they just do everything. They have all the languages, all the things supported. Ours are specifically developed and deployed for like Node.js, JavaScript ecosystem. And here it's where we monitor it. On the other side, also we provide, in terms of infrastructure, Terraform templates. So Terraform, it's like a code as infrastructure. Instead of going, to give an example, on AWS and manually putting together part of the infrastructure, or for GitHub, manually interacting with certain repositories, kind of like editing settings and so on, everything is done through Terraform. In order to enable and speed up product teams, we try also to provide the templates. In this case, it's a template applying, this is like a run of a template, actually, running from what you've seen before. So our like a reference web dummy app, where every time you try to deploy a change to the infrastructure, so saying, for example, an S3 buckets, saying where it's deployed, where it's available, or the properties, this is does it for us. And it's all code driven. Follow-up, testing, Jest, Cypress, and Applitools. Basically, in testing, the platform team have a few kind of like hats, I would define. One is the one of like extending the frameworks itself, because we are doing, I think, quite interesting stuff in terms of testing, and the basic setup of the frameworks, it's not enough for us, and we need more capabilities, especially, as mentioned, also for mobile ownership. We want to be able to attribute each single unit test, acceptance test, and so on to each team it's owning them. So that if there is any kind of flakiness or issue, we are immediately able to attribute it and connect with the relative team, instead of kind of like manually and humanly chase people and try to ask them to fix it, especially for the feedback loop time. Another one, it's providing a standardized way of mocking requests and responses, because if you have like tested things, especially visual testing, you know that you need to have reliable, consistent data. Otherwise, anything you try to test will keep on changing and becomes madness. And in this case, we don't want people to come up with extravagant, exotic solutions. So we provide one out of the box for them, and we iterate it. Third case, because testing can be complex and not everything can be done in-house, we provide integration with third-party vendors that we evaluate. So first, and the next slide we understand better, but basically sometimes we want to achieve a result. If we recognize there is out there a company that has an amazing product to give us, we just jump on it and we make the integration for all the team, and we try to make it seamless. And this is the case, visual testing. Visual testing, for disclosure, we use Applitools, we collaborate with them, allows us to do both kind of testing, so page testing and component level testing, because we also have like a component library internally. And all of this is done in a way that, as you can see here, using their tool, we are able to have immediately a visual feedback of what's going on. Now here, everything is green, which is amazing. Sometimes we might have things that usually will be orange or red, depending on the status, which will allow you to understand where the changes, visually understand them, and quickly being able to review them, approve them, and just ship it. On the good side, also, we really like to contribute outside of the company in these terms, even with the companies that technically we pay for. And so with Applitools, we were able in the last year to do a lot of collaboration on features that they didn't think of, because we tend to be quite cutting edge and aggressive in trying things out. And thanks to them, a couple of things, even in this page, were developed or polished just because we were collaborating with them. And I would like honestly recommend it if you're ever thinking to do visual testing in web, which can save you a lot of time. And especially a lot of incidents, just to mention, last year and this year, a couple of times, certain buttons on certain, I will call it sections of pages disappeared due to some changes. Things can happen. We are humans, and those changes were prevented to go live. So even the PR itself was blocked. And this one allows us to not have live incidents. So the return of a value of this one was like quite important for us. On the first part, so with all the testing, you try to prevent bad things to go live, but still they do. And so you have monitoring, and we rely on Datadog. 3 kinds of monitoring. First one, real user monitoring, or RAM, depending how you want to call it. So we try to, pardon me, we try to provide a set of SDKs that allow to mostly collect and push RAM metrics, and at the same time error boundaries that automatically collect this information. The benefit of this, especially for developers, should be able to automatically, when there is a problem, being able to go on Terraform, on Datadog, and being able to see where was the problem, which one was the component failing, and immediately being able to piggyback and understand eventually if it needs to be fixed, if it's a rollback, if a feature flag needs to be disabled. The importance of this part is the fastest you understand, of course, exactly which was the problem and what's the source of it, the quickest is the solution and probably the feature flag to disable or enable. And then the downtime and eventually the money lost related. On top of that, also allows us to create dashboards such this one, where we can track things like core web vitals, errors, deployments, and so on, put them all together, put a ribbon on it, and allow each team, each area to have a clear overview of what's the status of the product. Second type, testing, because we like to monitor all the things. As we were mentioning before, and also like as Roldan as a touch on that point is, what if a test fails? What if a test is it's flaky? One option is to be very human and start to do some witch hunting, which we don't believe in. And we are not very keen on the blame culture. So instead we like automation. The idea on that one, we keep track through the CI. We collect all the metrics and the informations about how our test, any kind of test, unit, and acceptance. As acceptance, we mean E2E, visual, performance, and so on that we have. Collect them and track them. In this screen, I can walk you through quickly. For example, we have top left flaky test. And this one, it's already giving us an idea that this is an offender. And probably someone needs to look into that, and there will be notification attached to it. Failed test duration. Sometimes we just might want to refactor test, because one might be really slow, and it's slowing down the CI, and it's slowing down all the developers that are actually not owning the test. And we want everybody to ship code as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible. And excuse me. And so in this case, allows us to take data-driven, well-informed decision of what should be the next thing to tackle for a team. As I was mentioning before as well, ownership, understanding how much of our tests are owned, and so on. And in this case, push for teams to actually own all the tests, or in some cases, if it's not possible, have meta teams, or because we might have one area that where there are different teams contributing to that area and cannot be attributed to one single team. Third one, monitoring CI. We are getting to inceptions level. Basically, we want to understand our CI, how does it work, how does it perform, what things, especially as a platform, we can do to improve the developer experience. So in our case, this is more on us as a team, going through the screens and try to understand which are the biggest offender and try to evaluate if we can do anything or if we can come up with some clever idea to make the red and the yellows wonderfully green. And overall, tracking things like P95s or like duration overall the CI and so on to try always to aim for better and keep polishing. All of this to present also one specific case that we have in our team, which is per se not platform, I would define it, but actually it's taking one big pain point in our that used to be in our company, try to solve it as a platform, or at least with a platform attitude. So for who doesn't know, Vue.js, Nuxt.js, still GitHub, our friend, Prismic, and AWS. One of the things that we have as a company, we might have like our main apps, which have dedicated teams, dedicated areas, working on them, keep developing, they keep an eye on it. It's amazing, perfect. But what if we have landing pages? Who doesn't own them? Where do we develop them? What if there is someone that is actually not with a strong tech background and want just to put together a quick page about few information or who we are or things like that, or in initiatives and so on. Well, this is what microsites were our answer. In the past, Glovo used to have third-party companies doing this. Sometimes they would do it in the amazing WordPress. Sometimes we're doing something even worse than that. It would be very difficult for us when we had to act on that in case of issues, security issues, legal issues, because there were outdated information and so on. So basically, we decided to take this approach and bring it in-house by creating our own CMS based on Prismic and allowing all the people within Glovo to put together websites like the one you can see without the need of having like a strong technical background. It's literally almost like a drag and drop kind of approach. This is an example. This website, what you see, has been put together not by developers. It's automatically generated, statically generated, so it's faster, it's simple, and it works. And how does it happen? On this side on the left, you can see some previews of the single components, just to help you in case you cannot see. These are like a call to action kind of component. This is a carousel kind of component. On the right, you can see the list of components that we have so far. So basically, also based on the names, you should be able to kind of like just play to put it together and do a wonderful collage of what you want to achieve. And that's it. Gets generated and it's easy peasy. It's done on our infrastructure and it's done through all the things that I've mentioned so far. So it comes with monitoring, it comes with automated deploy, trackable releases. So all of this, it's an example of like all the previous steps were useful and incremental to this part. Now, all of this is what Web Platform does. I will pass it to Ladi, which I presented before. They will talk to you about another wonderful topic.
Okay. Before we take questions for Web Platform, I just want to quickly talk about some of the values that we on the client side live by and the way we work. The first group of values I would like to talk about is care and empathy. And under this, first of all, we all learn by making mistakes, and we've made a bunch of mistakes in the past. We're always trying new things and always iterating on our approach, and we try to keep what works and discard what doesn't. For example, in the past, we've put out tools that we thought were needed, and we didn't get any adoption, maybe because we got a request from a single team and we didn't properly scope out if the engineering as a whole needed that tool. And in the end, no one adopted it. And also when we started out with web modernization, we started by putting out a lot of guidelines and didn't get a lot of traction, or we did get some adoption, but not every engineering team was implementing things the same way. And we've learned from that, and we started pushing tooling alongside guidelines. So we don't push out guidelines without tooling to enforce and enable teams to actually follow those guidelines. We understand that product teams have a lot on the table. And here at Glovo, product teams want to deliver as many features as fast as possible, as safe as possible. And on top of that, they still have to address technical depth, and also still adopt new standards that we're constantly pushing on them. And we understand the amount of work that they have to do. And our mission is to enable other teams, which means being unbiased. Unbiased means we're making data-driven decisions, or at least we're trying to make data-driven decisions. Listening by joining the different tech communities, sending out surveys, talking to developers, listening to their pain points, and taking their feedback seriously. And we're open to changes all the time, which means we don't get attached to the tools and solutions we develop. And we're constantly reevaluating the solutions we put out and seeing if it's still useful and making changes when we need to. The second set of values I want to highlight is collaboration and knowledge sharing. We want to in quotes, because we don't always 100% achieve it, but that's the aim, that's the goal. We want to build useful things based on the needs of developers. It's essential to enable and accelerate teams by allowing them be independent and helping them understanding the whys and the hows. So this means we want product teams to be able to experiment, move fast, make changes as fast as possible without us blocking them. They shouldn't have to come to us for every little decision they have. And we believe for them to be able to do that, they need to be able to understand the why and the hows. So we invest a lot of time in documentation, sharing knowledge, hosting knowledge sharing sessions, doing code reviews, pairing with developers, and making ourselves available to help teams move forward and building together trust and synergy. Yeah, that's everything. So any questions for web platform?
I exactly have 5 questions. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned about adopting monorepo. One of the challenges with monorepo is when you release the application, sometimes apps are tied to each other. Do you have mechanisms to have monorepo and multi-pipeline approach?
Kinda. So basically, yes, we have right now different flavors. I would say we have at least 2 of the monorepos, which are multi-applications. We release each application separately. As I was saying, when I was mentioning the smart CI concept, I would say almost trickle down to smart monorepo as well. In this way, we are able to detect which application has been changed and therefore should be deployed and released, and the other one gets untouched. So the idea is the process, all the tests, all the validation on the CI will be done only for that application, and the release will be atomic. Or the release is information that I was showing you. Again, they will only be attributed to that app, so there is no confusion. And this applies, for example, if we had, let's say, 5 applications and only one gets released, will be only one. Can be all of 5 at the same time. We will have 5 different ways of tracking all of them in terms of information and so on, and notification from Slack to the teams.
Cool. I mean, do you use any monorepo tooling like Turbo Repo or no?
No, we investigated Turbo Repo. We investigated also a few other ones. Right now, PM plus a custom set of, I would say, add-on that we have created internally are doing the job for us. In terms of release for the client-side rendered app, we had to come up with our own GitHub Actions for that, because we think that at least for our needs and our architecture, out there is not a tool which is powerful and flexible enough to accommodate what we want to achieve.
Cool. So one of the other things that comes as having a monorepo is sometimes engineers also ask for feature endpoints to be able to demo before merging. So having kind of on-demand environments, like if you have something like that, yes. If you do, how do you manage dependencies with all downstream and upstream?
In this case, we are quite lucky because I would say our setup, it's not that complicated. So we call it previews. And basically, we have ways of enabling previews per PR. So if you open your PR with your changes, you are able to also generate on the fly the preview for that PR and share it. The common example can be someone from product or someone from design, and you want to just get a quick feedback of the changes. So in that case, yes, for us, I would say it's fair enough to have it in a way that we might be mocking or might not be 100% of the real website as a preview, because of course also you need almost to have the backend to follow 100%. But besides that delta, the rest is exactly the preview of what you're working on.
So are you mocking backend or?
In some cases, it's based on it might be feature flags and so on. Not all the features can be previewed. That's what I mean, depending on the nature.
Yeah. Good.
Also, you can talk with some of our front-end engineers and ask them how good or how bad it is. They are the source of truth. I see them. I already feel the eyes on me. Don't look at me.
Also, where does mobile platform and web platform sit inside Glovo? in terms of the platform topology? Like, do you have like CI/CD team, and then this is cross-functional that takes care of mobile, web, and backend, or like your teams are separate?
So we sit on the 5th floor next to each other. No, I'm joking. Basically, no, actually, literally, we sit next to each other also conceptually from this point of view. We don't have a cross team, as you were mentioning, for all the CI or all the CD. We have a couple of other teams internally that we call infrastructure that provide maybe things like Argo CD, support to Spinnaker and so on. And then we, I would say, customize it to our needs. An example that both David and Roldan were mentioning, web was the first one to embark on this journey with GitHub/GitHub Actions and all of that. And now we are starting to expand. So we work together to try to find the best way to consolidate this approach. Same thing applies. I can give you an example of monitoring, modularization, monitoring meaning observability as a whole. Since it's still client-side stuff, of course, there will be JavaScript, iOS, and Android in their languages and so on with the differences and different complexities and challenges. But we try to use the most high-level agnostic approach in order then to reduce the implementation detail to the minimum.
So if you as web platform team make some choices, then do you depend on, let's say, infrastructure team to do their part to get your infrastructure ready?
We try to be as independent as possible. That's why the wonderful screen with all the logos gets so crowded, and there will be even more logos. So we try also to have an in-house to the web platform team knowledge about Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes, and so on, which usually wouldn't be seen as webby technologies. But because we want to be faster, it's important for us to be able to do that. Then there can be sometimes technical needs or feature requests from us to achieve a certain goal, and then we can go to another team and ask from a higher infrastructure level to implement something, or often we try to do it together, to be honest. So kind of like a collaboration.
Okay, my screen got locked. One question more.
No worries, take your time.
Yeah, so
I can do a little dance.
Do you have let's say design system team for mobile and web? And if you do, I mean, is it part of your team or it's a different team?
Okay. Great. So we are in the process to try to get to that. I would say ask me in 6 months and I will tell you exactly if we do. Right now, no. Right now, I would say each vertical in terms of product has its own flavor implementation of a design system to different degrees. Mobile, same thing. So we have one product that has a unified approach to that. So it has Android, iOS, and web UI kit for the purpose, but it's not applied to the entire company. So, and it's exactly something that we are focusing for the upcoming year. Hopefully it's our Christmas gift for this year, to have a unified design system for the entire company. And in this case, to be web, Android, and iOS, and put together all of it.
Final question, like what mobile CI mobile observability tool you use? Maybe I missed that somewhere.
Is it the same as for web? We use Datadog. We use the real user monitoring RAM, which is the SDK that they provide for monitoring in the clients. We use that.
Okay, I mean, because we did some research and found out it's not the best for mobile, so that's why I was wondering.
To be honest, as a tool, my personal opinion is that really amazing. The big problem is in terms of cost. So it's really, really expensive. And the way we had to roll it is sampling. It's the only way if you want to have efficient cost is having sampling. So we have only a subset of the users that are actually producing metrics. But for us, we think it's enough for us. But all the metrics that provide you are pretty good for us.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Same applies to web.
I like to hear questions like UI testing in mobile, unified design system, or now open telemetry, because are the things that we are working next year. So, any other question? Please.
As a curiosity, are you building the dashboards using Terraform or other approach of code solution, or you are using directly Datadog approach?
Most of the cases, Terraform. They're Terraform driven.
Okay, in this case, migrate from another different vendor is not complicated as.
For the dashboard, I would say yes, more or less, but actually for producing the data and consuming it and so on, that's the problem. That's especially why, without saying too much, I can say that RAM is one of the key factors. Because as already like Roldan was mentioning, we already have to downsample now and so on. So there are like some tricks and details in that they don't allow us with confidence and safety to move away, especially because of the power that we are getting right now and the capabilities for querying this data, putting it together as we wish. Datadog is providing us with a lot of like tooling in order to speed up, and then becomes really easy with Terraform to start from a sketch of a dashboard done manually and then port it to its own, as I was mentioning, like Terraform template, and then provide it to teams just to adapt it to the use case. I wish, to be honest, I wish there was something else.
Thank you.